Yes, we are passing the cemetery gates, and one day we'll all be there. But what we stand for and what we write, and our children and their children will live on after us, even if we don't believe in life after death. Genetically, there is life after death, unless the species itself is destroyed and our genetics mutated by design to turn humans into abominations. I was just talking with Dr. Group, who's going to go shoot a video for the Nightly News tonight, 7 o'clock Central, on how they're coming out, and they've already legalized it, but now they're going to comment period. Oh, you get a comment where they're going to openly start putting on the market the products of the human-animal clones. And most of these clones are only 3, 4, 5, 10% human, like the cows that are part human that create human milk that China's had for 15 years. And they sell in stores in China. The Chinese army, for whatever reason, drinks it. I mean, I've got BBC TV shows about this. 20 years ago, spider goats that are part spider, and they had those 10 years before that. But I've talked to the folks in the research labs where they're not, 5% goat or 5% spider, 95% goat. John Ronson's here. He talks about crazy things that go in our world. He's written a lot of best-selling books like Men Who Stare at Goats and Them. And, of course, he writes for The Guardian and a lot of other big publications. He's here, I guess, doing a solo piece, he was telling me. I'm not sure exactly what. But I saw him at the DNC or at the RNC and thought it was really interesting. So he came to town, and he's hanging out with us today. And this is the guy, if you're a new listener, that snuck into Bohemian Grove with myself and Mike Hansen. Now, the way the media works, though, is one night, it's about 12:30, I start getting phone calls. People are saying, hey, you said you snuck into Bohemian Grove with Mike Hansen. You've taken the credit from John Ronson. Now, John didn't do this. But what happened was, he didn't do it on purpose, but he then, after the book finally came out and the TV show had come out, he was able to admit he'd gone in. But he didn't want to get sued or shut down. He was kind of the mastermind of the whole deal that got us the source inside that helped us get in when everybody else had failed. So that's his credit. I appreciate him bringing me along and financing us doing it. I didn't even have the money to go, plane tickets and stuff at that time in 1999. I guess I did, but it would still be, hard for us to do that trip. So when you wrote that big article that I saw after the RNC saying, oh, my God, I feel kind of horrible, I've kind of launched the monster Alex Jones. Well, I think you helped me in a big way.
I didn't call you a monster. I said I was your Simon Cowell. You were my One Direction.
I know, but I think you did. I don't have the article in front of me, but you said, I now kind of feel bad.
Well, no, bad. I don't.
Can we pull the article up? You said something like, now you're having regrets, or because it's a horrible, evil Trump creature?
I don't want to. I don't want my.
I'm not mad at you.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at you. I'm wanting to understand, though, because I'm really a good guy. I think I'm a good guy.
Oh, sure. I think our night at Bohemian Grove is one of the great nights of my life. I could never feel anything but warmth towards somebody who I shared that adventure.
Sure, and I wasn't stealing the credit. You asked me to keep it secret.
Yeah, and I feel like...
We just didn't coordinate when you finally came out and said that you'd gone in too.
Yes, exactly. At first, I didn't want to say that I went into Bohemian Grove too, because I just wanted to be able to use the material. And... but eventually, I admitted that I went in as well. There's a whole bunch of people who feel that we were... I don't know if you kind of read all the stuff. I remember after it happened, there was a whole bunch of people who say, well, they let them in. They let them in. We were like kind of their shills. Or their...
Well, let's be clear that there was someone that worked there that gave us some intel, and we talked to locals, and then we talked to a local lawyer. We're going to stop right there. But no, clearly they are super pissed we got in. They arrested reporters last time I went there with the History Channel.
Wow.
To try to cover it. And, we can never be given any credit for anything. You didn't write your books. You didn't get them turned into huge movies. You didn't raise your kids. You probably didn't wipe your butt this day. It was, the Queen of England was there to do that, right?
Do you remember when we first met? We first met a year earlier at...
Waco.
Waco. You had... We
didn't really meet, though. That was fake, too. Right. In fact, we didn't even walk from our cars up to there. It was just the government carried us up there. The government has a respirator, actually, unlike Darth Vader. They breathe for me, too.
Right.
No, I mean, what that is internet trolls who are what you call real conspiracy theorists who are basically like fiction writers, but they claim they're not fiction writers. And then they discredit people that actually go out and do real research like you and myself.
Yeah, you actually get on planes and do stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyways, but getting back to that, it was great meeting you there. And yes, I would say Bohemian Grove, we were already on the map, reaching a lot of people, expanding, but that pushes to the next level. So thank you, John Ronson.
Alex, I'm very pleased. As you said when I met you at the RNC, we're kind of intertwined in history together.
Your destiny lies with me, Skywalker.
It was a great night.
Impressive. So most impressive.
We met a year earlier. I went to Waco with Randy Weaver.
Yes.
And Randy Weaver said, "Oh my God, it's Alex Jones." He was like really excited to see you there. He was a fan of yours.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, so you were already, you know, known in a circle, but and you had rebuilt. You'd personally.
Well, again, that's an example of stuff getting away from me. We went out there, and there was only like maybe 8 or 9 Davidians still living there. These were not the cult they'd said. I mean, an evil cult. They were abused people, kind of used by other personalities. There'd been this big, giant, fat guy, I think, named Roden. There's Academy Award-winning films, obviously, about it, but who ran a meth lab and weighed like 400 pounds and would run around torturing, you know, the Seventh-day Adventist break-off group that had been out there for 80 years thinking, you know, the world was coming. And then David Koresh, Vernon Howell, stood up to them. So even though he was whacked out thinking he was God, because, you know, 80 people out in the middle of nowhere thought he was better than the guy that was there before. The point was they could have arrested him in town at any time. They decided to have this big, you know, stand up to a cult, start the Civil War with Americans there, and it blew up in the government's face. But it showed the disconnect of the Clintons and how they thought America would respond to Waco. So the truth is the government was doing evil stuff and lying. The Davidians were just really sad cult victims, in my view, but didn't deserve to be surrounded by tanks and murdered. And so I was there saying no, and then I'm seeing, you're supposed to be talking here, but this is what Alex Jones does. No, but you're actually here to interview me, so I just brought you up because you're asking the questions. So see their trolls? That's what's happening here on my own show. But I am going to make you talk in a minute. But getting back to this, since we're going down memory lane, they go, we wish we had a place to have our memorial every year for everybody that died. Them, the police, they were very sad for the dead, you know, even ATF and FBI people. They were very humble folks, the few survivors. And Clive Doyle and others, very, very sweet, you know, very pious Christian people who've been abused. And so I'm like, yeah, we'll help put a new roof on this little shack you've got that 10 people can, you know, get in, and I'm going to donate $1,000. And then they told people I donated that or whatever, and then it got away, and my listers ran up there and just started building this giant thing to say they were sorry to the Davidians, and it just got out of control. So that's what happened.
I remember.
Kind of like us going to Bohemian Grove did. Because remember, I didn't believe there was satanic stuff going on at first, did I?
I mean, my memory of Bohemian Grove is that you said that there was a Moloch that.
No, once I got there, I went with a more extreme view, which I think was. Go ahead. No, beforehand, I was thinking, oh yeah, Big Al, right. Remember, you go back to Waco. Let's walk through the story. The next 10 minutes.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
You've got the floor, which means I interrupt you every 10 seconds.
Okay, so I went to Waco with Randy Weaver, who obviously was. I'm sure all your listeners know about the Ruby Ridge massacre and so on. Total
setup.
Yeah, I was making a documentary with Randy Weaver's daughter, Rachel, who was just, you know, such a lovely person. I don't know what's happened to her. And so I went with Randy to Waco, and we were all sitting around a campfire. I remember Colonel Bo Greitz was there hammering away, and he was the inspiration for Rambo, right? I believe.
He says that, yeah.
Okay. And
he probably is. He's a very interesting fellow.
And then Randy Weaver was like, oh my God, Alex Jones is here, and said what a fan he was of yours. And then you told me something that I didn't know. I remember my very first conversation, you said that Lon Horiuchi, who was the FBI sniper, who was the guy who killed Randy Weaver's wife, Vicky Weaver, while she was holding a baby in the doorway of their cabin, was the same sniper who was at Waco.
It was amazing. And by the way, my memory is good, but when you said that about Bo, I didn't want to just say it if I hadn't remembered it, so I had to go back and remember it. And indeed, he did go try to find the POWs and MIAs. And he's not just the inspiration for that part of the Rambo story. It's a composite. He's also the inspiration, just interrupting, to be clear, for, what is it, Uncommon Valor? What's the one with one of my favorite actors, the guy that plays Lex Luthor in the original Superman? What's his name? See, I'm already getting senile. I'm like Hillary now. He's the guy in Enemy of the State. One of my favorite actors. I know what you
mean,
what is his name? Gene Hackman. Absolutely. So, yes, he is the inspiration of many films. Go ahead.
Okay, sure. So I remember meeting you at Waco, and then about a year later, I decided to write this book called Them, which was, you know, if there really is a secret room from which shadowy cabal secretly rules the world. It's got to be somewhere, and if it's somewhere, you know, maybe I can get in. So, so I tried to infiltrate the Bilderberg group in Portugal and got chased away by their private security guards, and so which was terrifying.
And I've noticed over the years, reading your articles in The Guardian and other big papers, you've gotten more towards my views in a lot of way about big shadowy corruption, but I've gotten more towards your views, because when I was 26 years old or whatever it was when I was talking to Bohemian Grove, I was there in the crowd of the men getting off on it. That was very real. I think you agree to that in your book.
That was real.
But obviously it's a mock human sacrifice. And then I got bullied by the internet. And back then I could be bullied. Not now. I mean, I love it. But you know, you mature that, no, that's a real person. And that's why I said, okay, maybe. Then the press all ran with that. And that's not right to say. No, they're not killing a real person there. Okay, and most people there aren't devil worshippers, and I don't think they're all out to get people, but there is an occult thing behind it, and overall, you go to Skull and Bones and other secret societies, there is human sacrifice going on. It's been proven. It's come out in police reports, little kids being abused, but that's at other facilities around the world, and I'm not going to say Bohemian Grove's part of that, but I did say with my crew, it was Joe Biggs, our investigative journalist, Wayne Madsen, that when Scalia died, they all said this looks like Bohemian Grove of Texas, all the weird devil stuff. Turned out it was a Bohemian Grove subgroup meeting. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well,
I mean, see, so who can make that up?
Right. And my big memory of Bohemian Grove was, in fact, about a year later, I mean, I know we're kind of skipping back and forward, but about a year later, I was giving a talk in Belfast because, sure, you came out with your documentary, Dark Secrets Inside Bohemian Grove, where you did kind of say, well, maybe it was actual human sacrifice. And then I brought up my book, Them, where I said it definitely wasn't actual human sacrifice. And
I think it's fair. You're going on C-SPAN like, you were with this guy. You're saying they're killing people. You didn't really throw me under the bus. You had to kind of say, I don't agree with Alex.
Yeah, I had to say that. But because your interpretation of the ritual was quite far out, I was forced into this kind of weird position where I had to kind of defend the Bush family's proclivity to mock human sacrifice. I'm like, no. Which is a kind of weird. I never thought I'd be in that position.
Well, I mean, at Skull and Bones, they do some really bad stuff. I mean, that is really dark.
Well, I tried to get into Skull and Bones also, but failed.
Well, I want to say, you're a real journalist adventurer. Everything you do, all your books, everything. I mean, it's really riveting stuff because you actually go and do it.
Yeah, I actually give it a shot. I'm not going to sit behind my desk and make stuff up. I'm going to actually, you know.
But going back, since I skipped ahead, because we're going, kind of like Choose Your Adventure, going way back to Waco, do you remember us standing around out there by the side of the building the church, and you're like, no, they really do have a big statue. They really do this mock thing.
Right.
Even then, see how I got even more radicalized. I was more almost mainline, just patriot, you know, Ron Paul, anti-Federal Reserve guy. Don't you remember me going, really? You really think they do it?
I don't remember that. I mean, I'm sure it could.
But then once I got there and the old member going, I mean, yeah. Isn't it you that did say, but Alex is right, they were in religious rapture?
You know, this is where I think me and you really do combine in our memories of that night at Bohemian Grove. They were really into it. They were really into the ceremony that they were doing. This kind of, you know, stupid pageantry, robes and hoods. You know, ye shall burn me once again this night, and all of this kind of. You shall burn me again. Yeah, and all of that stuff. And they were really...
Bring fire!
Bring fire! And, yeah, I remember one guy came up to us and said, you know, is this your first time here? And I'm like, yeah, we just came up the drive. And he goes, oh, you're going to love it. Burn him. And kind of everyone was like really into it. I thought, okay, so Alex and Mike, I'm being completely honest. I thought, okay, Alex and Mike are kind of really into this, thinking it's some kind of Moloch type deal. All the Bohemians are really into it too. It's like I'm the only person who thinks this is kind of nuts. And
well, the men were in religious rapture as I stood there with over 1,000, you know, billionaires and globalists and world leaders, and they were, you know, I've gone to Holy Roller churches, I've been in Baptist churches, so I've seen it. It was more religious ecstasy than the lady in the front row at the Pentecostal church, and they were seething. And it is a ritual mixed with Druidic, Faustian, Babylonian, Tyre. So there is Moloch in it. There's a bunch of aspects. It's a cosmology. It's kind of an integrated system to put all of their cares and their sins on this effigy of a child. It is small, about like a 10-year-old kid or 8-year-old kid. And then they are transmuting in alchemy. And I've talked to people that are into the occult. They say, no, that's what that is. not Christians, but cultists, they are putting it onto that dummy, and they are in a ritual of a bunch of powerful men. So the ritual is a psychic ritual with powerful men that believe that they're basically Druidic priests.
Yeah, they say that what they're doing, when they burn this effigy, they're burning all their troubles in the world, all their responsibilities, so they can enjoy their summer vacation. So that's their interpretation of it. But you're right. So I was in Belfast. I was giving a talk in Belfast, and I was, you know, talking about our infiltration, about getting into Bohemian Grove and everything. And everyone was laughing, and because it's a funny story. And then in the Q&A, somebody said to me, okay, I know what you think of it, and I know what Alex Jones thinks of it, but what are the people who actually do the ritual? What do they think of it? And I said, you're right. They seem to be really into it. And that gave me the idea to write The Men Stare at Goats, because I thought, okay, in them I was looking at, you know, belief systems on the fringes. And I thought, well, you know, these people at Bohemian Grove are kind of in positions of power, and they seem to believe all this irrational stuff. So that's...
Well, Stubblebine, he was one of the top Army generals, ran Special Forces, you know, a bunch of different titles. I've had him on. He seems like a pretty rational guy when he's on the show here. He says, John Ronson, that's not accurate. But then I know you have a lot of the witnesses that were in it that say that did go on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I interviewed General Stubblebine up in upstate New York in a hotel. I interviewed him a couple of times. And yeah, so he was head of Army Intelligence. I know he's a fan of yours and may be watching this right now. So yeah, he was head of Army Intelligence with 16,000 soldiers under his command. And he got it into his head that, you know, what is the atom mostly made up of? Space. What are we mostly made up of?
Space.
Well, what are we mostly made up of? Atoms.
Yes.
So if you can like merge the spaces, then you can pass through objects.
Sure.
So General, but to me, I mean,
it's like Star Trek being energized, beamed.
I mean, to me, the problem word in all of this is mostly. He said, what is the atom mostly made up of? Is space. There is some other stuff too. Anyway, so he would get up from behind his desk in Arlington, and, you know, try and walk through his wall, but would keep bumping his nose, and even got bruised and was worried.
But they did kill a goat staring at it.
Well, you know what? A goat fell over while being stared at, apparently. But I think if you...
It was a young goat, though.
Well,
no, it died.
I don't know if it died. What I know is if you stare at a goat for long enough, it'll eventually fall over. But it could be coincidence. It could be like boredom. It could be just, you know. So apparently a goat... We can talk more about the goat staring if you would...
Absolutely. I want to know about whatever new projects you're working on. I guess you're working on them right now. Alex Jones here to tell you about how you can help spread liberty worldwide while also enjoying what I have found to be the best tasting 100% organic coffee on the planet. For more than a decade, my favorite coffee has come from the high mountains of southern Mexico, where the Chiapas farmers grow their unique shade-grown Arabica beans. We have now managed to secure these sought-after beans in a highly customized blend. Discover and try a bag of the Patriot Blend 100% organic coffee at InfoWarsLife.com. This coffee gives you a long, smooth pick-me-up for hours without the headaches and heartburn that so many other coffees give me personally. Hands down, this is my favorite coffee, and it's taken us years to secure connections directly to the Chiapas Mexican farmers. Drop by the site today, order a bag or two, and I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Available in original or with our immune support infusion blend. You will be supporting a free press, all the while enjoying a truly great tasting cup of my favorite coffee. Available at InfoWarsLife.com.